Perhaps we will ramble for just a minute about, I don't know what's going to come out, so if you guys would contribute, but we were sitting here at God's Country Place. We're at the kitchen table once again, and we're talking about the obvious association of so-called normal or perceptual mind with the disease of spiritualness, and how finally the idea of whole mind, or the idea of the relinquishment, really is what it is, of associate ideas in regard to personalities, are considered to be mental diseases, okay, by perceptual consciousness. It's very evident to you in the new way in which you're thinking and doing that you are different than the constituted reality of Earth, and perhaps you always have been. Many of you who are listening to this tape now have always been different, yet you have been forced to acclimate yourself to the notations of perceptual reality in regard to the things that you did, the goals that you set, the modality of your thinking and cultural relationships. All of these things have environmentally forced on you, where from a hereditary or genetic or karma standpoint, you always felt different. We have come to tell you that different is good. We have come finally to tell you that total different is total good, because the real condition, as close as you could get to it in perception, of heaven, of wholeness, of goodness, has absolutely nothing to do with the constructs of the mind of the earth. And that's a statement of fact. It begins perhaps with early in pre-adolescence. The consciousness observes that to some degree people do not say what they mean. And there are a lot of young clairvoyants who have suffered the apparent stigma of listening to an adult while the adult's mind was saying something else. Have you ever heard of that? Did you know that? And that's a fairly common thing, and many of us early on experienced that. So we were taught hypocrisy, and it was at a higher level even than do what I say, not what I do. It was more, but Dad, you're thinking differently. The whole world thinks differently than it acts, or the whole world finally is basing its reality on the consciousness that it's denying, and this will come later on to you. This causes great frustration. You become what? A search for perfection. Okay, all indications that will occur in adolescent schizophrenia, for example, are statements of a need to be a whole consciousness. When puberty is reached, when the energy, passions mature to creative necessity, there will be statements of a need to be whole. And this manifests itself obviously in a need to create or recreate or to have issue. But at a higher level, it's a statement of a need for the consciousness to identify itself, to know who it is, to find some reality. This has to be accompanied by perceptual split mind, because this is a split mind place. And unless the consciousness can adjust to the idea of the tragedy of the association of pain and death with love and security, he'll kill himself, perhaps, or he'll begin to sedate himself, which is more common. Or finally, he'll find a compromise that fits into a form that, while it is not true and he knows it, it has to be acceptable to him in the relationship with the limited goals that have been set for him. Many of you have gone through these periods in your life, then adjusted to them, and gone on perhaps to school, and gone on and found avocations and occupations that gave you at least some sense of satisfaction, only to discover that in terms of what you really were in the reality of the universe, in your need to know, they literally didn't fit the bill. Now you're ready. Now you're really looking at you. Yet everywhere you look, all you can see is a temporary satisfaction derived by a conflictual consciousness in association with the things around him. Well, now we're into the teaching. Okay. There is no answer here. Okay. The conflictual mind cannot find an answer because the derivative of the solution is the cause of the problem. And quite literally, he has his own problem. You've discovered that now, and this is what we teach. The problem that apparently exists in your associations are nothing but mind possession. Jesus, in the Course in Miracles, uses this term quite often. He says, in the old biblical expressions, is that the consciousness is possessed. And we mean that literally. The consciousness has ideas in association with his limited framework of time, doesn't he? He's actually possessed by things. Jesus calls them perceptions or idols. You find in your text, do you think you know what an idol is? And take a look at what idols really are. Idols are associate ideas about yourself in relationship to the objects that are around you. Idols are the need to hold on and to identify yourself in this persona, in this limited association that you find yourself in. You'll always judge them finally falsely because all judgment is false. And this is why you can't find the Christ. I'll put this on once more. When Jesus says, let's face it, if you could find the Christ, you'd kill him, he means quite literally that perceptual mind defends itself from reality, from wholeness. So the process of coming to know what we teach, that is the mechanism of coming to know, has to be relinquishment. This is the basis of the Course in Miracles, that your mind, your perceptual mind, is the obstacle to the reality that's all about you. And only through the relinquishment, of your possessions can you come to know that. Well, those of you who have decided to take this tack on the King's Highway are beginning to have the feeling that you want to divest yourself of things. This is a nice indication. You wake up one morning, you've gone through a change of mind, and you literally start to give your things away. You don't want to be connected with security. Okay? You seek out insecurity in order to allow the miracle to occur. This is the teachings of the workbook of the Course. The whole idea of ordering your mind or looking to the future or gathering evidence of survival in time are the exact notations that are causing your death and aging. But what we're dealing with for the moment is the consciousness literally undergoes this, and society, which is structured on longevity and death and subsequent death, cannot understand the foolish tactics of a spiritual mind that is trying to get rid of itself. And it often is judged and appears to be within the framework of the balance of perceptual mind to be insanity. Is this the awakening of the energy forces? Is this the evidences of paranoia and schizophrenia that make them about? Sure. The fundamental teachings that we present to you is that you are undergoing a transformative change in your body, mind, and all of your systems in regard to your relationship, including your glandular associations, your circulatory functions, what you are in truth, okay? With that admission, all of the apparent aberrations that will occur in this process will be looked on as beneficent, because they become a continuing means to identify the change that is going on in you. Isn't this nice? Okay, so you begin to seek out, if you've been doing the Course in Miracles or listening to this tape, you begin to seek out consciousnesses who are experiencing the phenomena of the enlightenment, without giving credit to it within the limited framework. Many of them perhaps would walk on water, or they'd levitate, or they'd see bright lights, or they'd feed the multitude, and perhaps even raise the dead. Huh? They go through all of these things, and they're in a perceptual state where they have to finally acknowledge, and this is a difficult step, but you better make it, okay, that you're different. You finally cannot come to hear this without the whole statement that your whole mind will be different, at least for a moment, with the perceptual establishment that appears to be outside of you. You can't get it without going through it. And that's okay. If we're going to take the sentences, let's take them whole. From the Course, you are the only living Son of God. That's a statement of whole-mindedness, that God created you singularly and wholly. Is that true of the things that you see around you? Is that true of what appears to be happening on earth? Does the body really construct itself in divine associations? Of course not. Therefore, the necessity for you to appear to be different, okay, is going to be very obvious to you. Why? Because you are different, okay? It may start out with you marching to a little different drum. Then the melody begins to play for you, and you begin to hear other things. And then you reach a point where we say, can you hear this? Where the mind has expanded sufficiently, where it has relinquished its previous karma associate ideas to the point where it puts them together in a new framework, and now it begins to hear this. This is the brotherhood. This is what we'll be gathering together loosely, not in a doctrinal organization around the world, and it's occurring now. That framework of thought is literally transcendent and is in a constant state of occurring. How lovely then to realize that the necessity that you're feeling now to divest yourself of your goods, of your worldly possessions, is all a part of this determination being exercised by you in your whole mind, in this space-time framework, to return to reality, to wake up. You've been asleep, haven't you? And now you're going to wake up. So the need to give yourself away is very valuable. In fact, the fundamental teaching has to be that the closest that you can get to creating in perceptual consciousness is to give. And when you give yourself completely, okay, you will no longer be held in the bondage of the memory patterns that constitute your apparent genetic reality. Holy mackerel, come on home, guys. Well, we're meandering here a little bit. We'll come back. We're at God's Country Place. We hope you'll hear this, and we hope you'll contact us. We'll be back. We're still meandering here, and we're still talking. Strangely enough, the idea of necessity, the idea of lack, the idea of scarcity is exactly why you don't give things away. Yet until you give them away, you can't know that you don't need them. You are nothing but a series of sequential possessions of an unreal consequence, because the beginning has no reality. But the teaching has to be that you give or forgive in order to know that. You cannot know that there is nothing outside of your mind. And then the sentence, and listen to how dramatically different this will sound to you. You can only forgive yourself. You can only give to yourself. Okay? God creates. You are a creator in correspondence with the certainty of that reality. Obviously, you can't know it unless you give it away. But the defense mechanisms, obviously defensiveness is fear, that you have in the admonition that you must give in order to know that you're real are very strong. This is nothing but the new covenant of Christianity. This is nothing but the notation of mercy and love and giving in order to become whole, in order to communicate, in order to see that you are a single consciousness. Okay. Protect everything you value by giving it away. Okay. The universe is only thought. Okay. You begin with the notation that everything is ideas and that the ideas are yours, and this includes God, then you have this marvelous idea of perfection. And then you see that no matter where you look, there isn't any because you're possessed by needs. Then you give the needs away and come to be rather than have. And then you see that being and having are the same thing. Okay? Then your whole mind suddenly explodes on you and you're in the glory of the recognition of love without the necessity to defend yourself in any regard at all. You have been found not guilty of ordering your thoughts. You have made the admission of a single source. Wow, that's astonishing. To discover that strength is in absolute dependency on the single truth, rather than the establishment of some sort of kingdom outside of reality. How foolish to do that and die in the attempt. So, don't be possessed. Does possession include opinion? Hey, possession is opinion. Thought forms are opinions about your relationships. Okay. Don't judge, and you'll spring into heaven. We'll be back soon. All right, we're back for just a moment. Let's take a look at the inevitable outcome of this kind of thinking, of the idea that you must give everything away in order to discover that you are. All establishments, that is, all perceptual associations on the earth, or the earth itself, are statements of the denial of whole-mindedness. Jesus' Christian admonitions that your kingdom is not of this world, okay? That you have to literally give up your established mind in order to come to the truth are all very much a part of this. But look at the intensity with which the consciousness will defend his mind establishments. Now, perhaps we'll put this on just for a little bit because many of you who are doing the Course in Miracles are looking at the chapters that deal with special relationships and go a step further and begin to speak of holy relationships. Okay. What we've been talking about in regard to sequential time or perceptual mind is what special relationships are. All limited mind functions are nothing but special relationships. You might want to look at the certainty that they only communicate with themselves, since they are projections of a limited mind. Obviously, you don't believe this. All of the establishments that you have on earth are objective establishments, making allowance for thought forms in their own constructs in association with themselves. You actually give them an identity and pretend that they didn't emanate from your own mind, don't you? That constitutes a special relationship. Actually, if you walk into a room and identify somebody by a name, you have given him a special association in the drama of your mind, haven't you? Now, you attempt then to communicate him by presenting to him your ideas in associations with his. They have no reality at all. Not only do you only present him with things that you may particularly want him to hear, but you hold within you and defend other notations that you feel will offend him, perhaps, or cause him to judge you falsely. There's a lovely sentence in the Course where Jesus says you end up with what is considered to be a so-called perfect relationship on earth, a perceptual relationship that the consciousnesses have literally contributed nothing to. It becomes nothing but form, and it appears to be very stable, and it has absolutely no reality at all. Now, in the process of giving yourself, there's another sentence in the Course you might as well hear. While we are all equal and certainly emanate from God, we are not equal in time. And some of you are beginning to experience as you go through this metamorphosis that the conditions around you do not keep up with the variances of the occurrences in your mind. And this can be very painful, because it's a restructuring going on at a different condition of consciousness or level of consciousness. Okay, here's the positive manner in which the miracle will occur. The only possibility of a failure in any sort of relationship that you have on earth will be the failure of your own mind in your contribution to the relationship. The only thing that could ever be missing in a relationship is what you don't bring to it. And that's very difficult for you, because you have been consoled on opinions and judgments in regard to associate reality for a very long time. If you give everything that you are and have to every relationship that you have, that's not a relationship, that's love. That's creating, that's extending from you. Okay? And you will not long remain in any form of establishment of your mind on earth. That's the truth of it. Again and again, you have brought with you perceptual thought forms, either in this framework of time, either to attack you or with which you are determined to associate and seek surcease of sorrow in the conflict of your own mind. This is very lovingly expressed in several pages in the Course in Miracles. Inevitably, they lead to death because they are defense mechanisms. It's important for you to remember that you are only memory. All perceptual mind is only memory. This was over a long time ago, dear brothers. You are simply in a framework of sequential memory. It's impossible for you to meet a stranger, since you are constructing the consciousnesses in your own mind. Yet since you have a drama of conflict, of hate and terror and fear with a lot of the array associations in your energy patterns, you establish very quickly in your new karma memories, as you incarnate, as you come into a recognition of yourself, your loves and hates, and base your reality on it. How absurd. You see now the necessity for forgiveness and the practice of forgiveness. I'm very much aware that you seem to be constituted in what is primordial hatred for particular types of cultures or associations. I'm aware of that, for goodness sake. But remember this, as long as you defend yourself, you become a part of the pattern of hate-love, of fear and death. So the practice has to be one of relinquishment then, or forgiving of your opinions in regard to it. Okay. Can that be done by asserting the power of your mind, or by the relinquishment of the power, by going to the true humility? Well, it'll work both ways. But remember this, the conflict is only in your own mind. And if you'll start with that premise, you won't need to define a holy relationship, because you'll discover through the absolute giving away of yourself, of your possessions in what formerly held you in bondage, that you have become whole and free. Free in mind, free to be, not free to do. Free to live, not free to die. And these will be the natural occurrence as you come more and more into this new framework of reality through this transformation that's going on in you now. So be of good cheer. You're not going to fail. I might tell you this. All judgments of yourself in regard to the progress that you're making in this are false. It's impossible that you don't get it. It's impossible that you didn't get it. You are only love. And as you come to know that, you'll become, as we were saying in the other tape, a happy learner. It'll make you feel real good to make a commitment to this teacher of God. And the higher the range of your commitment, the more you commit, the happier you'll be. Did you know that? There's some old biblical admonitions of Jesus. If your eye offends you, pluck it out. Okay? Quit looking at the splinter in your brother's eye and get to your own beam. For goodness sake, forgive and love. Huh? Am I back to the fundamental teachings? Give it up. Be number two. We know who you are. All of these assertions of your necessity to identify yourself in this so-called progress towards truth are absolutely meaningless to us. We're going to give you everything you need in this choice until you see that choice is absolutely unnecessary. And as a matter of fact, a choice between living and dying is what has held you in the bondage of time. And you'll come into eternity, and you'll see that you never left home. That's what we're teaching. Come join us now in this new metamorphosis. It's impossible that you did not do this, and if you'd care to hear this, it's impossible that you did not do this now. Okay, any time is now to me, to my mind. If I don't get you now, I'll get you later, and my later will be now to me. And whether it'll be to you, I don't know, but we're here to tell you that this place isn't real. The whole teaching of the Course now. Here it is, sitting right in front of you. You might want to spend a day looking up the definitions that Master Jesus gives for the earth, including dismal alcove and rotting prison, many, many other ones where he directs that you'll laugh at the idea of death, and you'll laugh at the idea of sickness and pain. You'll come free and be whole with us. How lovely then to welcome you to the kingdom of heaven. We discover that we've always been together in this certainty of love of our Creator. Be free then with this. And your relinquishment is your strength. In your apparent weakness, in your non-defensiveness is literally your salvation, and in no other way. Search within your heart. Don't be afraid to look at it now, teacher, when you're alone with yourself. And you have this fear veil that you don't really want to look at, and you begin to feel the threat of reality. Just cast your spirit, release yourself, come up to this new vista of reality, and be free. We'll see you soon. We'll be back. Let's talk for just a moment about the difficulty you have in giving when your mind is based on perception or reciprocalness. In reality, there is no distance between cause and effect. Every thought that you're having is having a total and full creative measure of immediate return. You don't know this because you're in time, but it's time that you learn this. The law of cause and effect in time is inevitable because what we teach is true. You literally, in your mind, can only get back the value that you place on something in the thought that you give. I'm giving you this now as a fact, so that those of you who place a value on something outside of you that you're attempting to learn, say, within a framework, perhaps if you spend $100 and go to a seminar, or you spend $50 for a new suit of clothes, you will get back exactly the value that you place on the $100, not more and not less. Now, your necessity to exchange is a positive indication that you don't believe this. This is in the Course in Miracles, but that doesn't make any difference. I'm giving you this as fact. Whatever you value will return to you in kind, don't you see? It cannot not be so. Somehow, when you attempt to accumulate, you feel a lack and believe that there's something outside of you, okay? So that you can give something that you value less and get something back that you value more. That's crazy. It's impossible. What are my teachings? How do I adjust to that within this framework of time? The only way that you could ever hear this message is to give everything away. Okay. Now, I guess within your framework, you're going to constitute a practice. Okay. And this is what the Course in Miracles is, a practice in relinquishment. Okay. You give some away and then you take some back, and then you feel the pain of possession and you give a little more away. And finally, you free yourself by this absolute giving. Okay. It's very important that you see that you cannot see the worthlessness also of what you possess. Its valuelessness until you've given it all away. If you hold on to one single thing here, isn't this so? If you possess one idea of value of the earth, it's exactly the same as possessing all ideas of value. Okay? And the whole miracle of reality won't work, will it? Why? Because your mind remains split. And this is a very fundamental teaching, but remember that you must make the psychological application in your own mind in order to see it. Jesus calls us A Course in Miracles because of that, where the manifestation of giving appears in the framework of happiness or love that you experience, and the shift in the apparent phenomena that surround you. And finally, though, the greatest miracle and only real miracle that could ever occur would be your awakening, of you coming whole in your mind. Okay? And that's the miracle that is coming about in you now. Only your awakening, isn't it? There will be a lot of signs along the way, okay? A lot of indications, and we want you to have them, but we're teaching a whole step above that. You observe the phenomena, but finally we're teaching subjective reality. We're teaching phenomena. You are the cause and you are the effect. And now you're awake. And just for a moment you feel that. The incredible glory of total commitment. And the bondage that binds that have held you simply fall away from you and you're free. Exchange is impossible. We've got less than 76. You can't give something away and you can't get something back. You can only be you in truth and beauty. We'll be back. Oh, let's talk about forgiveness now and facing your fear. I'm going to read without comment here now the definition in the teacher's manual of the Course in Miracles on forgiveness in the face of Christ. The comment I'll make to you in your transformation is that your total forgiveness comes by the brightness of a transcendent mind that quite literally sees the face of Christ, doesn't it? So without comment, if I could keep myself from commenting, there's a lovely young mind that wrote this. It is a dear friend of ours. Listen. Forgiveness in the face of Christ. Forgiveness is for God and toward God, but not of Him. It is impossible to think of anything He created that could need forgiveness. Forgiveness then is an illusion, isn't it? But because of its purpose, which is to relinquish pain and death, okay, which is the Holy Spirit, it has one difference. Unlike all other illusions, it leads away from error and not toward it. Wow. Forgiveness might be called a kind of happy fiction, a way in which the unknowing can bridge the gap between their perceptions and the truth. Since it's really impossible that they don't know, obviously it's an illusion. They cannot go directly from perception to knowledge because they do not think it is their will to do so. This makes God appear to be an enemy instead of what he really is. And it is just this insane perception that makes them unwilling merely to rise up and to return to him in peace. And this is why there's a necessity that we teach this. And we teach it as transformation, don't we? And so they need an illusion of help because they are helpless, not in reality, but in time. A thought of peace because they are in conflict. God knows what his Son needs before he asks. He is not at all concerned with form, but having given the content, it is his will that it be understood, and that suffices. The form adapts itself to need. The content is unchanging, as eternal as is its creator. Now, the face of Christ has to be seen before the memory of God can return. And this is the idea of illumination, isn't it? The idea of the transformation of your mind. The reason is obvious. Seeing the face of Christ involves perception. No one can look on knowledge, but the face of Christ is the great symbol of forgiveness. It is salvation. It is the symbol of the real world. Whoever looks on this no longer sees the world. He is as near to heaven as is possible outside the gate. Yet from this gate it is no more than just a step inside. It is the final step, and this we leave to God, and this is what will occur. Now, forgiveness is a symbol too, but as the symbol of his will alone, it cannot be divided. And so the unity that it reflects becomes his will. Okay, unity is the will of God. That single statement that he's a creator is your salvation, isn't it? It is the only thing still in the world in part, and yet the bridge to heaven. God's will is all there is. We can but go from nothingness to everything, from hell to heaven. Is this a journey? No, not in truth, for truth goes nowhere. But illusions shift from place to place and from time to time. Now, the final step is also but a shift. As a perception, it is part unreal, and yet this part will vanish. What remains is peace eternal and the will of God. There are no wishes now, for wishes change. Even the wished for can become unwelcome. That must be so because the ego cannot be at peace. But will is constant as the gift of God, and what he gives is always like himself. This is the purpose of the face of Christ. It is the gift of God to save his Son. But look on this, and you have been forgiven. How lovely does the world become in just that single instant when you see the truth about yourself reflected there. Now you are sinless, and behold your sinlessness. Now you are holy, and perceive it so. Now the mind returns to its Creator. The joining of the Father and the Son, the unity of unities that stands behind all joining, but beyond them all. God is not seen, but only understood. His Son is not attacked, but recognized. Isn't that lovely from the teacher's manual of the Course, a definition of forgiveness and a statement about the necessity for the illumination of the mind, the change in perception that's necessary, the transformation, the new birth. And that's what's happening to you. And as you recognize it is happening in your brother and forgive him your illusions, you come to share this single statement of truth. And how can things be separate if they have a total common goal? That's what we proclaim to you now. Okay. Separate goals are impossible, teacher. The goal to forgive, the goal to become whole is the only one there is or has ever been in this dream of sickness and death and times. You come whole with us now and wake up. Those of you who are hearing this for the first and last time understand that this is reality that we're presenting to you now. Okay, not in consort with other perceptual evaluations, not in association with traditions of the so-called world, but in our single statement of the transformation of your individual mind. Isn't that lovely? We hope to see you soon. Thank you. Time and space has never kept us apart, has it? We are remembering. And the light begins to shine now, doesn't it? You lay aside these fear thoughts, and there's just that moment of hesitation, and then, isn't that lovely? How bright you're all becoming. How real. How spirited. How alive. How miraculous. From out of the past now and from out of the future, finally out of all time, you come now. What matters how long it's been when you have come. Now we awaken to that glory of reality. It was just a little sleep. The dream's over. Welcome home, teachers. A long journey now is leading nowhere is over. Exciting, how exciting to see the minds awaken now from up out of the grave of death, earth to light. Happy Easter, teachers. He is risen. He is risen indeed. We'll see you soon here at God's country place or around the world. Our minds join now this revelation, resurrection. Bless us, everyone.